Je vous invite à prendre place pour cette nouvelle masterclass. On va rentrer dans un monde où la question du goût et de sa profondeur est essentielle. On a beaucoup de chance de les avoir avec nous sur scène ce matin. Avec ce restaurant Ernst à Berlin, ils font probablement l'une des cuisines les plus puissantes et imaginatives qu'on a sur le continent européen. Ils sont allés puiser très loin au Japon pour comprendre et puis rapporter des techniques. On va travailler ces techniques aujourd'hui sur scène. C'est l'un des plus petits restaurants au monde et c'est probablement l'un des plus beaux. On va les accueillir tous les deux. Dylan, Watson-Brawn et Spencer Christensen. Please guys, come du restaurant Ernst à Berlin. Hello Dylan.
Hey.
Hi Spencer.
Hi.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
You're Canadian, right?
Both of us.
Yeah,
are Canadian.
both of us. So, but from the West Coast, so we will speak in English.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
No French today.
Yeah.
Je vais prendre un peu de temps pour traduire. Je pense qu'on est nombreux à pouvoir maîtriser un peu cette langue. Donc, on va essayer de trouver les mots essentiels, mais de ne pas trop ralentir la démonstration. Who are you? You're on vacation right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the first time this year.
For the first time this year. C'est la première fois cette année qu'on est en vacances. We need to understand what is Ernst, because we're in Berlin and we are in your own apartment, if I can say that.
Yes.
Describe the place, describe the restaurant. It's important for the people, for the audience, to understand where you're working and why this, this format of this restaurant. Merci de décrire un peu ce lieu parce qu'il faut comprendre à quoi il ressemble pour pouvoir aussi bien comprendre la cuisine et where the culinary culture comes from. Please.
The restaurant started 7 years ago
Okay.
in my apartment in Berlin, and then we were cooking for 6 guests.
Donc vous avez compris, hein, juste 6 personnes qui viennent 2 fois par jour, 2 fois par service pour manger dans l'appartement de Dylan.
And then over 2 years, we had a really nice group of customers come and enjoy, and we just kept hearing, when are you opening a restaurant? When are you opening a restaurant? So we opened 5 years ago with 12 seats, and we did 1 seating. And we cook tasting menus based on, a lot of it is to do with my training I did in Japan.
Yeah.
So
Maybe you can say a word about that because this is a very important step, in your culinary, career.
Yeah. So I always say some people go to France to learn to cook, and I went to Japan. So I learned in a kaiseki restaurant in Tokyo all of my basic knowledge of cooking.
Ok, donc Dylan explique que certains vont aller en France plutôt pour apprendre les bases de cette cuisine. Lui, il a traversé le Pacifique pour aller à Tokyo, pour travailler dans un restaurant kaiseki, donc cette haute gastronomie japonaise. What is the name of the restaurant? Maybe
Ryugin.
Ryugin à Tokyo, qui est l'un des temples, one of the temples of the Japanese kaiseki cuisine, right?
Yes. So I always say at Ernst we don't make Japanese food, but my foundation of cooking and our foundation of cooking and what we enjoy is really inspired by the philosophy of Japanese cooking.
Okay. Spencer, you're co-owners of the restaurant, right? Where do you come from and how do you work together, with Dylan?
So we kind of came at working together a little bit like sideways. We met in Berlin, but we're both from Vancouver and we have like the same friends
Okay, on s'est
there.
rencontrés à Berlin.
Yeah. And Dylan actually was like thinking about stopping cooking. I was doing something completely different at the time. We became friends, and we wanted to I quit my job because I hated it, startup stuff, and we wanted to do this project, doing different kind of food sort of experiments, brewing, etc.
We wanted to brew beer.
Yeah.
Ok, on avait envie de devenir brasseur.
Yeah, but we didn't have money.
Yeah.
Il faut un peu d'argent pour ça, effectivement.
So we were like, okay, we can cook in my apartment to make some money to buy the stuff to make the beer.
Okay, so the project is not maybe done. Maybe you will be.
One day.
One day, definitely.
We never brewed beer ever, but it just started like this, and then Spencer was introduced to the topic of what we're going to show today, Dashi.
Ok. Donc on va parler de dashi. When you say you working with the Japanese base, dashi is maybe the most important, not an ingredient, but the how can I say that? Yeah.
It's a foundation.
It's a foundation of the kaiseki and all the Japanese cuisine. We can find dashi everywhere.
Yeah.
So tell a word about the importance of dashi. Merci de dire un petit mot quand même sur l'importance du dashi. When you worked in this Tokyo-East restaurant, what was your first approach of the dashi? You came from your Canadian culture.
Yeah. I knew nothing about Japanese cooking, but I ate there and I thought it was incredible. I'd never had something like it before. And when I started in the kitchen, one thing I realized is a lot of the time in the West, our experience with Japanese food is like soy sauce, for example, or miso. And what I realized is we didn't use hardly any soy sauce or miso in the restaurant.
Really?
But what we used the most of was dashi.
Ok. Je connaissais absolument rien à la cuisine japonaise et j'arrivais avec vraiment des connaissances nulles et seulement peut-être un peu mes idées un peu préconçues sur la sauce soja ou le miso, mais absolument rien sur le dashi. Et pourtant, on n'utilise ni sauce soja ni miso dans ce restaurant, mais du dashi.
Yeah. So it found its way in almost everything. So it's this very light but extremely umami flavor base that you marinate vegetables in, you braise, you serve as a broth, you use for sauce. Like it has all these different applications. And in our restaurant, we'd use a very traditional base. So this one is Rouse kombu. So it comes from the northwest side of Hokkaido.
Okay.
And this is a 4-year aged kombu.
Ok. Donc, on parle effectivement du dashi comme la base de tout, qu'on va utiliser en bouillon, dans les sauces. Et ils vont travailler d'une manière très traditionnelle en utilisant cette feuille de kombu qui a été déshydratée et finalement mise de côté pendant 4 years, you said.
Yes. So you can see on the surface this white kind of powder almost.
Yeah.
This is what happens over time is the salt and the umami flavor from inside of the seaweed comes to the surface.
Ok. Donc on voit finalement cette matière un peu blanche qui vient s'extraire de la feuille, de l'algue, qui voilà, c'est cet aspect un peu salin, très umami. Maybe we can say a word about the word umami because when you speak about dashi. The second word, the most important, is umami. Maybe this is the best definition of this taste.
Yes.
Because it's so complex for the Westerns. Sometimes it's the best way to understand what is umami. We have to say, taste the dashi to understand.
Yes.
Le mot umami qu'on entend souvent est vraiment un mot important quand on parle de dashi. C'est celui qui probablement décrit le mieux la complexité aromatique et finalement ce goût. Du dashi. What do you have to say about umami? It was easy to understand and to speak about it with the Japanese cooks?
It's very different. So it's the opposite of like the reduction of a sauce. So the reduction of the sauce, it concentrates.
Yeah.
And umami is like this. It's like a feeling. It's very wide.
C'est l'opposé d'une concentration, où on va chercher justement d'une réduction qui va chercher de la concentration. L'umami, c'est plutôt presque un sentiment qui vient effectivement donner de l'ampleur.
Yes, exactly.
Brings like a richness to something without it being heavy. Like it can be extremely light at the same time.
C'est ça. Ça peut être en même temps très puissant et très doux à la fois. C'est vraiment, sometimes it's too difficult, for the European or American people and to understand well what is umami, because it's not only a taste, this is not sugar or salt, this is more a spirit or a feeling, as you said.
But you feel it, like when you consume it, you feel it, which I really appreciate. What it allows us to do in the restaurant is preserve the complexity of ingredients. So this is the traditional second key ingredient of dashi, which is Katobushi.
Ok, donc le second ingrédient essentiel du dashi qui est Katobushi, donc de la bonite séchée qui devient dure comme du bois presque, strong as a wood piece.
Yes. So for some of our dashis, we use this Katobushi. It's called Hon Katobushi. It comes from Wakayama Prefecture in Japan.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where everybody asks, so do you make it yourself? And for us,
This is nonsense.
we had the pleasure of meeting people who make Katobushi, and they're 6th or 7th generation only making Katobushi.
Oui, on nous demande souvent effectivement si on produit nous-mêmes ou si on va. Is it easy to find Katobushi in Europe now? Not at all.
No, these we have to get directly from Wakayama.
Ok.
So
Donc celui-là vient de la province de.
you can find like in this form, so in the shavings.
Yeah.
But it's very different from what you buy in a shop.
Ok. Donc ça vient d'une famille qui depuis la 6e ou 7e génération produit du Katobushi. This is the flakes we can have on okonomiyaki, for example, that flying on the.
So we take this. This is like a wood plane, basically. It's like carpenters.
Voilà, ça c'est un outil finalement de charpentier, hein, d'ébéniste, qui va permettre d'obtenir ces pétales de katsuobushi qu'on va voir, je le disais, quand on a ces sortes d'omelettes japonaises okonomiyaki qui sont tellement fines que la chaleur va littéralement les faire danser sur la okonomiyaki.
So this one is like we use it to shave the katsuo fresh every day, and in some preparations we use it to shave the katsuo à la minute. So in the moment, and then we make the broth.
Okay, this is from this morning?
It's from 20 minutes ago.
Okay, is it possible to try?
So with this one, the one that you have on okonomiyaki, this one is Hon Katobushi, so it's a 3-year process.
Okay.
So it's almost like wood. It's like the ones that you have on okonomiyaki are typically 1 year.
Ok, donc
so I would
il m'invite gentiment à ne pas la manger puisque celui-là va avoir 3 ans, il est très puissant, alors que celui qu'on va avoir sur les okonomiyaki dont je parlais n'ont qu'une année.
So, but in the restaurant as well, so we use this one to make something called Kombudashi.
Kombudashi.
So Kombudashi is like the base of the base. So you take this seaweed and we infuse it in cold water for 2 days.
Okay. Maybe we can have.
We have some tasting.
Yeah. On va vous faire passer 3 variétés de dashi. Peut-être nos camarades de l'école du CAS peuvent commencer avec le kombudashi. Kombudashi.
It's nibandashi, sorry.
Nibandashi.
With
Ok, avec ça. Just explain the importance is your restaurant about dashi, because you said every day is different and all the menus are changing every day.
Yes.
But you have this roadmap with the dashi. It was impossible to imagine to cook, a menu from Ernst, and it was better to understand the importance of dashi.
What is the foundation of the menu? Yes, absolutely. So we'll use the kombudashi or the dashi with the katsuobushi, and then we work with a lot of vegetables in the restaurant. And one of the things for us is we really work extremely hard to find amazing farmers. And if the produce is amazing, you sort of want to use all of it.
So farmers from the Berlin area in the region.
Exactly.
And how do you explain, this is not a German cuisine, this is not a Japanese cuisine, this is not a Canadian cuisine?
No.
How do you call it?
That's the hard part. We don't really know.
You don't
You have to come and eat, and then you understand.
And probably you don't care.
No.
On en a rien à foutre en fait de savoir comment on l'appelle cette cuisine.
Yeah, so what we do then is like, for example, what we have here, these are the skins from very beautiful tomatoes.
Okay.
So for the preparation of the dish, we'll peel the skins off, but we'll keep them. And then we very, very slowly dry them. And shortly after, you're going to have a taste from dashi made with the skins of tomatoes.
Okay.
So
this is exactly the same base from the dashi, or?
Yeah. So we'll just infuse the skins, and then we'll serve it with a dish of tomato. So it really reinforces the flavor of tomato. Okay. And that's like our menu. So,
how many plates or dishes we have in Ernst? For example, the last time you opened the restaurant?
On Saturday, last Saturday.
40.
40.
40.
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
When you say 40 to the people, it seems very, very large and sometimes a little bit heavy to eat.
No.
But how could you explain 40 is not, it's not too many? Parce que 40 plats, voilà, je ne sais pas si vous avez déjà fait une expérience avec 40 plats. Ça peut donner l'idée, évidemment, d'un menu extrêmement long. Explain that.
So I explain it as like a 10-course degustation, but you have every single part of maybe in a normal restaurant, a dish will have 3 or 4 components.
Like satellites.
Yeah, our dishes have 1 or 2 components. They're very simple. They're very small. The format is almost like sushi. So some small bites, but you really get to taste the moment and which produce, which fish, which vegetables we work with that day.
Ok, donc il faut plutôt avoir en tête l'idée d'un comptoir à sushi, littéralement, où on va avoir non pas 40 plats, bien sûr, mais des bouchées presque, des choses qui vont être proposées, avec parfois des choses qui vont tourner autour, mais on est dans une forme de succession de bouchées qui vont former l'équivalent à peu près d'un menu autour de 10 séquences.
Yeah. So the restaurant has only now 8 seats.
8.
8.
Why?
We thought 12 was too many.
On n'a plus que 8 sièges puisqu'on pensait que 12 c'était un peu trop.
Yeah.
Tell a word about that because it's not easy to understand for me.
So imagine this is the restaurant.
Okay.
It's a little bit bigger, but not much. And the guest is sitting here.
Okay. Like a sushi bar.
Like a sushi bar.
Okay.
So we cook the dashis, the vegetables, the meat, the fish, and we cut it or we put it on a plate and then this.
Everybody eats together at the same time.
All right. At the same time, the same.
Yeah.
Like a sushi bar, sometimes we have the. And could you tell us about the wine? How do you work with this idea to combine dashi and wine? Because it's important for the European people, probably in Berlin too, to drink wine. It was a challenge for you too.
Our sommelier is a Japanese guy, so he really understands dashi.
Okay.
And then the bigger challenge for him is that the menu changes every day.
Okay.
So a lot of the time, we get excited. I mean, when you have 8 seats, you can work with 6 figs. So you get 6 of the most beautiful figs come into the restaurant, and you can make something from them. And so a lot of the time, he has to imagine how the dishes and the composition and everything will taste, and then he pairs the wines. We don't do a wine for every course.
Okay.
We do 6 or 7 wines for the whole menu, but it's kind of sections of the menu. So, for example, at Ernst, we serve now 4 or 5 tomato dishes.
Okay.
So in a row, and different varieties of tomato.
And the pairing will be from this sequence?
With the tomato.
Okay.
Yeah, so the same with peppers, with all the different seasonal vegetables. We work really closely with our farmers, and we like to, instead of buying produce from all over, we get seeds. So, for example, like some of the things we use for the dashi today, they come from Le Doyenné, from James.
From Le Doyenné.
So, for example, if James finds a very interesting variety of pepper, instead of sending the peppers, he sends some seeds.
Okay.
And then we try to grow it in Berlin. And so we end up with a lot of different varieties. So maybe in springtime, we'll have 4 different varieties of peas. So we want to serve to show the customer that peas can taste very different, whether they're a Basque teardrop pea or a more classic sugar snap pea, and all the different preparations you can make from a pea.
Just a pea.
Yeah.
Vous l'avez compris, juste, je prends un moment pour traduire. Le sommelier de Ernst est japonais, donc il a lui-même cette compréhension, cette connaissance. Le challenge pour lui, la difficulté, ça va être de considérer que le menu change tous les jours, avec donc des accords qui vont être très compliqués. Évidemment, il ne s'agit pas de faire des accords à chaque bouchée, comme on le disait, à chaque préparation que le client va avoir, mais de considérer des séquences qui se concentrent autour d'un produit. On donnait l'exemple de la tomate, ou finalement des pois, des petits pois. Il parle. You went to Le Doyenné
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Ok, donc il parlait du restaurant Le Doyenné de James Henry qui.
All the vegetables we use for the broths come from Le Doyenné.
Ok,
from
donc
yesterday.
voilà, de James Henry qui a ouvert ce restaurant il y a à peu près
Yeah.
3 mois à 1 heure de Paris. The second broth, the second
Yeah.
dashi is on the audience right now.
Yeah.
Vous les avez eu ou pas? Les 3 déjà? 2.
Do. It's,
Okay.
I think it's from, this one is from the skins of aubergine, so eggplant.
Ok, donc le deuxième, the second one was about the eggplant skin, right?
Yes.
Ok, vous l'avez compris, c'est la peau d'aubergine qui va donner la complexité
Yeah.
aromatique pour
We
ce
make
dashi.
we make a sauce from it. We call it in the restaurant cigarette sauce
Cigarette sauce.
because eggplant has. Usually we grill them on the charcoal grill, so
Okay.
a very big part of the restaurant is cooking on charcoal.
Uh-huh.
And we take the burnt eggplant skins, we infuse them in dashi, and we make this sauce. And it's like, it tastes like tobacco.
Tobacco, ok. Il y a cette résonance avec le tabac de la peau d'aubergine qui va être grillée sur le barbecue, qui est l'ustensile qu'ils utilisent le plus pour la cuisson et qui permet de donner ce goût un peu puissant de tabac et qui fait qu'ils appellent ça le cigarette
Yeah.
sauce.
So the really interesting thing about dashi for us is that in our kitchen, we don't use reduction.
Not at all.
No. We do a couple of more classic sauces, usually with meat, where if we want to get the texture, the gelatin,
Ok.
we'll use we'll do some reduction.
Mhm.
But mostly with the vegetables, I find sometimes reduction it makes things taste one-dimensional.
Uh-huh.
So I like to have these very light but very deep flavors.
Ok. Dylan explique que donc il n'utilise pas du tout ou très peu de réduction, peut-être parfois avec un peu sur la viande, mais il considère que les réductions qui vont donc, évidemment concentrer les goûts donnent un goût en une dimension, là où il a envie finalement d'une expression plus large, comme finalement une expression en 3 dimensions que permet le dashi. It's very philosophical to understand the taste of the dashi and your cuisine. It's easy for the customers and for the clients to come to your world.
Yeah, because it sounds very philosophical, but when you eat in the restaurant, it's not like that. It's
just fun.
accessible.
Yeah.
It's very accessible because it's like this is a tomato, and you're like, I've had a tomato before, but maybe you've never had a tomato like that, or in that way, or with that much care and preparation. So, we like massage the tomatoes.
And you can think of all the different sauces more like teas. If you just imagine them like a tea, then it makes a lot more sense than kind of if trying to kind of like explain it any other way. It's like infused, doesn't boil, gentle, like to support the
tea.
It's easy. It's easier to understand with tea.
Yeah.
Non, on pose la question quand même de la complexité et parfois de la difficulté aussi de rentrer dans un univers qui peut s'apparenter un peu à un monde philosophique. Il dit en fait c'est pas du tout compliqué, hein. On leur propose une tomate, on leur propose un produit et ils ont évidemment les clients le produit et le goût qui va évidemment leur permettre de comprendre de quoi il s'agit. Parfois il est important de faire une résonance avec le monde du thé. On est plutôt dans l'infusion, dans quelque chose qui va pouvoir s'ouvrir que d'un goût trop complexe. Donc si on fait la comparaison avec le thé, ça devient peut-être un peu plus clair.
Yeah.
We have the third one, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's. I think it should be.
third one should be the
Pepper.
pepper. Yeah.
Yeah.
The pepper.
So it's a Basque pepper from Le Doyen,
Okay.
Le Doyenné, and we.
Donc un poivre basque.
Yeah, and it's just it's got this light sweetness.
Vous l'avez ou pas le troisième?
Twice?
Non, pas encore. Ah, il est parti, je crois
Yeah.
là-bas. Ok.
Cool. Yeah, and it's for us the nice thing about the format, so to have 40 dishes, is we can allow the customer to taste the same thing, but with a different part or a different texture. So, for example, when we serve meat, we'll like beef. We do 3 or 4 different pieces of the beef.
Okay. I have a question, Dylan, because you were the first Western cook to go to this restaurant to learn this technique. Do you have the impression to discover a hidden treasure or a secret in this place, and to bring back with them with it in Europe? Or,
I think it just is a different perspective on cooking. And I think the interesting thing is to take that perspective and come to Europe and to use European ingredients to cook in a Japanese style, sort of. And then really just what comes out of it is a little bit different.
La question c'est, est-ce qu'il était le premier cuisinier occidental à intégrer la brigade de ce restaurant à Tokyo. Les chefs et les cuisiniers étaient tous japonais. Et il est le premier. Are you the only one to work with them, or after you?
After me, I think some people did, but
Okay.
for me, it was
You were the
first
first
person to work in the restaurant.
Et donc la question c'est de savoir si il avait l'impression d'avoir découvert un trésor qu'il avait ramené. Il dit que c'est plutôt comme un changement de perspective, un changement de logiciel presque de pensée, qui permet de concevoir la cuisine et un monde de la cuisine très différemment de celle qu'il pourrait avoir en Europe ou en Occident au sens large du terme. Explain what will be the next menu at Ernst. Probably you don't know yet, of course, because you're on vacation, guys.
Yeah.
But what is the idea to go with Ernst, you know, in a different way, or a new dimension?
Good question.
2 guests.
Yeah.
2 guests.
6.
8 is too much. À quoi pourrait ressembler le Ernst de demain? Maybe you can have a clue with the second restaurant you have. Maybe you can say a word about that. Peut-être on peut avoir un indice à partir aussi du deuxième restaurant qui a ouvert.
It's a more casual restaurant. We use all of the same ingredients. So
Okay.
we spent years and years and years working with different farmers, different producers. And it's sometimes a shame when you only buy enough for so few guests. So we said, okay, we do something that's a little bit more accessible. Also, Ernst, it's not a spontaneous restaurant. You need to book in advance very long. So it's a nice place for friends, people who come to town, other chefs who can even walk in.
Bon, vous avez compris, il y a une deuxième adresse de Ernst. I don't remember the name of the second. Julius, voilà, le restaurant Julius à Berlin, qui est plus cool, décontracté, plus accessible aussi. Vous avez compris que pour avoir l'un des 8 couverts de Ernst, il faut se lever de bonne heure. Alors que là, chez Julius, c'est plus accessible, à la fois en termes de prix et en termes d'accessibilité tout court. Why, guys, you chose Berlin? In 1 minute.
I still don't know.
That's the $1 million question.
No one knows.
That we get asked every day.
You meet people in Berlin all the time, and it's just like, for me, I was working in Denmark, and I did.
You work at Noma, right?
Yeah.
No, you don't want to say a word over that.
No, but it was like.
It's not important.
No, not for me. I mean, it was a really amazing experience.
Okay.
But for me, I worked in Japan in a very small restaurant, and to go to very big restaurant,
very big,
is really just, for me, it was a challenge, and it was not the right fit. For me, I love small restaurants.
On a compris ça, effectivement. Et vous avez compris, il a fait un passage chez Noma et il est passé d'un tout petit restaurant à Tokyo à ce très grand restaurant de Copenhague. Et ça a été une expérience assez compliquée. Il est vraiment associé aujourd'hui à cette dimension très, très intime du restaurant. And how could you explain that? Not only because of the experience of the Japanese restaurant, but you like to be in front of your customers, to chat with them, to have a discussion, to understand with them what they have in the plates.
I mean, for me, it's nice that the customer can just ask. It's not so much. We don't have service staff, so it's the chefs are serving all of the dishes. So if a customer has a question, they can just ask, and it's more like a conversation.
Okay.
So you can ask questions throughout the meal. We talk. It's very casual.
In a way.
Yeah, and for us, we're really young people, and we come from a different generation of restaurants. So for me, that's the sort of restaurant that I want to work in. The food is really top, but for me, the service is very, very casual and very warm and relaxed.
Okay.
And yeah.
Il explique l'importance effectivement de la relation avec ses clients, c'est les gens qui sont en face de lui, qui peuvent poser une question, lui poser finalement à lui directement quand l'assiette va être posée. On est plutôt dans une conversation que véritablement dans un service de restaurant gastronomique. Assez cool finalement, et ils sont, comme vous le voyez, jeunes et beaux. Donc ils ont en plus la possibilité finalement d'être dans une, ça c'est moi qui ai rajouté les beaux, pour être dans cette conversation très simple et décontractée. L'idée n'est pas d'être dans un temple. When you will reopen the restaurant, just to be sure to have the next seats.
Next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
And it's full booked for... How could we have, we're all plenty to understand, to imagine, to go to Berlin. What is the tip you can give to have a seat or two?
We have online, we have like a newsletter thing, and you can sign up, and then you get notified when we release the seats for the next months. So I think there's still some seats for till the end of the year, but
to the end of the year.
Yeah, but it's like it's a very intense experience. It's like we serve 40 plates in 2.5 hours. So it's very quick. It's a lot of impressions, but it's it's very, very pure.
Eh bien, on va les remercier.
Merci.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Dylan Watson-Brawn et Spencer Christiansen du restaurant Ernst à Berlin. On les applaudit vraiment chaleureusement de nous avoir expliqué cette philosophie. Et on espère les retrouver très rapidement. Et nous, on se retrouve dans 5 minutes. On les applaudit, s'il vous plaît. Dylan et Spencer. Thank you very much, guys. À tout de suite.